Welcome to the Allo.Capital podcast. If you're just joining us, we are doing seasons. This season, we are summoning Allo.Capital, a new spinout from Gitcoin that's designed to build the capital allocation layer of the next internet. There is big upside here. Capital allocation is a multi-trillion-dollar design space. VCs, governments, NGOs, and DAOs all have to allocate capital to solve their problems. But it's also a place where you can start small. Every time you spend money, you are allocating capital. We are threading a through line, partnering with builders, researchers, and funders to figure out what the next generation of capital allocation will look like post tokenization, post AI, and then building it on Ethereum. If you want to learn more, visit our website at Allo.Capital, where you can download the Allo books for free, play with some of our dApps, join the Telegram, or participate in the DAO. All right, today I have the Allo Ships session to play for you. Allo Ships is a weekly session in which we have builders in the Allo.Capital builder network show up and show off what kind of cool tools they are building for their customers. And so this is a session that I think is best watched on video. If you want to see the cool stuff that has been built in visual form, then definitely recommend checking out the YouTube channel. If you just go to YouTube and search for Allo.Capital, you'll find it. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so this is Allo Ships. This is an opportunity for us to show off what we've been working on. We've done 2 of these so far. This will be our 3rd one. So far, we've only demoed software in Allo Ships. And on this one, I want to expand the aperture to include all things that are going on in the network. So not just software. If you're working on research, if you're working on a book, would love to give you the opportunity to show off that work here. As long as you're shipping it soon, then I think it's something that's worth showing off. So the format that I think that we should do is 5 minutes each, and that gives us time for 5 presentations of things that we're working on. So I'm going to be timekeeper. Please just raise your hand if there's something that you want to show off that you've been cooking, and I'll call on you, and we'll do 5 minutes each. You get total 5 minutes, so you can either do a 5-minute presentation or a 2-minute presentation and 3 minutes of Q&A. So 5 minutes each is how it works. Any volunteers to go first this week? Okay, I got a hand up from Sav. Go ahead, Sav.
GM, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. So yeah, I guess what I would call out is I'm got a few things that I've been working. So some of you might know I kind of started my journey in Web3 by doing grant retrospectives for my blog Sovereign Signal. Took a couple years off of that. Still focused quite a bit on the grants and incentive space, just learning a lot about it, and kind of back to writing those retrospectives. And so I've done a few now. I just released what I believe might be my most comprehensive yesterday around Base and their ecosystem. So that was like really fun to write. And yeah, I've got more in the pipeline. I plan on doing a pretty comprehensive one next around optimism and a few others. I've also got the Crypto Grant Wire, as some of you may know. So that's a Telegram feed that keeps track of all sorts of updates across grants and incentives in Web3. I've got into vibe coding recently, and I'm actually working to build something on Lovable that basically takes the content from the Crypto Grant Wire, which is in one part curated from Twitter and different sources, people watching updates in grants and incentives. And the other part is a news feed that comes from X23, which is a team that builds out kind of like governance updates using AI. And the thought there is I would take that pipeline from the Crypto Grant Wire and basically aggregate it in such a way that I can do kind of like weekly updates on all the news across grants and incentives in Web3. And then I'm also starting to take a look at doing some interesting stuff where maybe I build out like an AI avatar that can deliver that news in kind of like a video format with those summaries in addition to the newsletter update. So I guess that's kind of like my Allo Ships update, is really just getting back to the work that kind of got me here that I really enjoy around writing and doing updates across grants and incentives in Web3, and then figuring out better ways that I can kind of aggregate that information and share it out with a broader audience. So it's exciting.
Thanks, Sav. I just put a link to a tweet that I found from you of the Crypto Grant Wire if people want to subscribe to it. So it seems like within the container of Crypto Grant Wire, which is your independent research facility, the most recent thing that you've shipped is the Base ecosystem post. Any highlights you want to give us as what's going on in the Base ecosystem? I know that you and I exchanged a tweet this week where you said Base is doing cool capital allocation, and I said, "What are they doing?" And you said, "Article when." So, what's the coolest capital allocation that you're seeing happening in the Base ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. So I can share the post there from the base update. The biggest things I saw with base is, as many people know, typically when you see um, grant programs launched, it's usually as a result of a token generation event where a treasury is created and then those funds are used to give out grants. Base, because of the backing with Coinbase, did not have a TGE, and so they had a different situation than many ecosystems where they had kind of the deep pockets of Coinbase to launch based. Um, and so as they've launched their grants, they've also taken an approach where they're not really doing like traditional direct grants like many ecosystems. So they've tried some different experiments. The most interesting I've found was something they did with Talent Protocol, which they kind of refer to as like universal builder income, where they have consistent streams that are sent out based on impact that builders are creating over time. They're also not giving out very large grants. And so they've had more of an approach of smaller grants, higher velocity in those grants, doing larger build-a-thons and those types of things. And it's worked quite well, right? And so, the biggest things that I saw from them is one, the difference in not having kind of a token treasury, giving out rewards in ETH, and essentially the incentives being aligned that way. And two, some of the mechanisms that they've used to distribute those grants. So rounds.wtf and some of the work they've done with the Nouns and the Farcaster ecosystem, Talent Protocol with the Universal Builder Income stuff that they've done, the Build-a-thon, On-Chain Summer, and some of those events. And there's more in the pipeline for Base. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of like answers the question, but that's what I summarize the article.
I know that I've gotten in touch with some Base people recently, and I just sent them a copy of the On-Chain Capital Allocation book. So, at some point, we may pitch them more capital allocation goodies. And whenever you've got a big ecosystem with a flywheel cooking, I think that there's a lot of opportunity to help accelerate that.
Totally.
We got 1 minute left. Any other comments on Crypto Grant Wire or Base grants?
I'd say, just subscribe to the Grant Wire. I'd love to get more people in there. Stay tuned. My vibe coding of my new website for the Crypto Grant Wire, as well as kind of like the information aggregator and the updates will be coming soon. You can also subscribe to the Substack. There's Sovereign Signal, which is the grants retrospectives and kind of thought leadership on the grants and incentive side. And then there's the Crypto Grant Wire part of Sovereign Signal, the blog that will soon start to have the weekly summaries and things coming out. So yeah, that's all I got.
All right, thanks, Sav. That's your 5 minutes. Can I get some snaps or emojis for Sav for going first? It's very brave of you to go first, Sav. Break the ice for everyone. All right, anyone want to show off what they're working on next? Just raise your hand.
I'll do it.
I saw Scott physically raise his hand, bucking the trend of digital hand raises. Scott, you got 5 minutes.
Gents, we wrote a book.
Wow.
Place of Regeneration, Hope and Resilience Through Anticipatory Design. By me and my dear buddy, Stephen the Millionaire. We got 6 chapters of lovely goodness in here for you about why we do this work, the background history that we think is relevant for everybody to know about, the particular case examples that we draw a lot of inspiration from, and then the more practical side of a toolkit of frameworks for designing regenerative systems, how all of those come together into a design journey. It's not like telling you specifically where to apply the things, but it's giving you the sense of how to design iteratively and regeneratively. And then a chapter on governance. So we're like literally in the process of shipping that as we speak, and I'm stoked about it.
Thanks, Scott. If I'm listening to Allo Ships on the podcast or if I'm just on the call, can I get it yet? What's the date in which I can get it, and what's the channel through which I can get it?
All very good questions. we did catch that we didn't put the QR code to join the Telegram group in there, so we'll have to coordinate a little further around this. But
Yeah.
as we've done in the past, we're going to have a Telegram group for people who had captured the book.
Soon TM, huh? Can I ask you to share your screen? And I just want to call out a couple things about the book. If y'all been following my work for the last couple of years, you know that we've been pushing out a book. I mean, once every 3 months, 6 months, depending on um the author and the cadence that we're on. And the things that I would just call out here is that we're building a body of work about doing capital allocation and regeneration here, and I'm really very thrilled to start branding these things in a way that Allo.Capital fiscally sponsors this and helps distribute it. But all of the books that you're going to see coming out with a new brand on them are going to be visually similar to each other on the cover. And Scott, if you scroll down just like one page, I just wanted to show off at the top that at the inlet of every book, we're going to be cross promoting the different books that have been sponsored in and around my work. So from MycoFi to on-chain capital allocation, grassroots economics, Ethereum localism, AI on-chain capital allocation, abundance networks, and then this book, we're going to be able to cross promote all of the Allo books together. And so I'm excited about building a body of work that talks about on-chain post AI capital allocation. And I really feel like education is part of what we're doing here. So, I know a lot of people don't read books these days, but still having the information out there and inquiryable, I think is really important for building this movement and for building everything that we're doing. So excited about that. Scott, I don't know if you have anything to add
Me
on
too, bro.
there.
No. Just pleased as can be to share it with folks. Looking forward to having the print copies in hand soon, and they'll be around at the events.
Yeah, there'll be a way that you can order a print copy. I'll probably order some to the office that I work out of, and then um, I think the thing I'm excited about is that this sort of like arrangement we've come up with these different authors is they get to tell their story, but Allo gets to build its network and the body of work around Allo. It just feels like a total 3-3. So I hope to continue doing this to the extent that it's an effective strategy for both parties.
Yeah, both Stephen and I recognize this as a critical moment where we could do some like intergenerational knowledge transfer.
Yeah.
We came from the older community currency tradition and knew people like Bernard Lietaer in particular. So it meant a lot to us to have the platform to be able to share more about what it is about that space that we find so compelling and share a little bit about what we know about how we think we should start moving forward. So
Beautiful.
rock on.
All right. Anyone have any other intellectual capital or research they want to show off? We could also show off software if people want to do it. I want to expand the aperture for anything that's being shipped in the network. Monty raised his hand. Go ahead, Monty. You got 5 minutes.
Has the state of ReFi report already been shared?
No,
State of ReFi 2025.
no, I didn't even know that existed. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, cool. So this is something that we've done in partnership with Carbon Copy and Green Pill. So we had the state of ReFi. Let me share my screen. This was the 2024 report. And we've now done a 2025 edition. And essentially it looks at the ReFi landscape, the kind of reflection on the ReFi movement. Obviously, we've been through kind of the big bull market in 2021, quite a significant bear market. And I think we're now just teetering out the edges for the next stage. And I'm trying to get the 2025 version here, but it looks like we need to do better on our SEO. But yeah, I don't need to, yeah, here it is. Look, so it's on thing. And yeah, from Carbon Copy, ReFi DAO, Green Pill, and Regen Coordination, you can download the report for free. And yeah, one of the things that we've done is kind of aggregated or tried to aggregate as much of the impact of the whole ReFi space as we could. So with Carbon Copy, we've tracked, nearly 400 projects. There's been through Gitcoin grants, through Cello grants, over 27 million invested in impact, and 26 million granted. And yeah, tracking UBI, and we've got this this impact dashboard here. Look, where this data is being tracked. And yeah, you can click on see the sources that it's currently pulling that information from. And really trying to do this to make the ReFi space more legible to institutions, to the wider Web3 space, to say, ReFi may be a niche, but hey, our impact is stacking up, and we can actually aggregate the kind of summation of the different impacts that all of the different projects and protocols are doing. Hopefully this allows us to raise more funding and be taken, I guess, more seriously in the space. And yeah, mapping out the different sectors. I won't kind of go through the full report, but if that sounds interesting to you, hopefully there should be some interesting insights, us as builders in the space, to kind of lean on and work out where to go for 2026. So yeah, definitely some features of Allo and Gitcoin and probably others projects of people in the call. So yeah, happy to share. I'll post a link during the chat in case anyone wants to dive in.
A link in the chat would be great. I'm definitely going to download it and read it. And today I learned that y'all put out a yearly state of ReFi. So excited to see how that evolves, especially as the Ethereum ecosystem is evolving, and figure out how we can support it with next generation capital allocation. Monty, you've got 1 more minute and you want to do a Q&A. Does anyone have questions for Monty? If not, we can move on. Going once, going twice. All right, sold. Anyone else have something they want to demo? We've got 10 minutes left. Air, you're up. Go ahead, take us away. You got 5 minutes.
Cool. So doing AlloIRL, basically AlloIRL, we're starting to look at how we can meet more custom needs. And so we're helping use AlloIRL right now to run a grant round for Big Green DAO. And so I'll show you a few of the new functionality we've kind of built into it. We built in some better like filtering. So it's like, if you're a Big Green voter, so if you're part of like the Big Green community and you're wanting to vote, you might be like, I want to vote on something that's doing traditional food-based nutrition ecosystem. Oh, and there's one. And so I'm gonna like go and vote. I'm not actually part of the voting, so I can't vote here. But I could go into the staging environment and vote. Nice little cowboy hat. Have that many goods left. I'm planting seeds, and so we're really looking at how we can like start making AlloIRL work better for more specific niches, and kind of like looking at how it can be a little more white labeled. We added functionality such as a seed basket where I can kind of go this one, but it's working in the main one. Kind of look at how all of my votes are allocated and change them live. We've been working on the real-time dashboard, making it look better for larger events, so we can kind of see where all of the votes are going and where they're allocated. And so yeah, this is kind of where we're at. We've been evolving a lot more features, mostly like the basket and the better like tagging and filtering and ability to search. And yeah, the idea, like I said, is really making it where it can be more white labeled, so different people who are running AlloIRL rounds can really run one that's really custom to them and have it where it's like their own unique ecosystem. And so we basically built this for Big Green, and then we're going to be taking this out and kind of building a lot of that customizability such that anybody who's running around can really customize it for themselves. So that is the current state of AlloIRL.
Are we okay to show the data view? I just feel like that's a really amazing thing to show off if it's not proprietary or private.
You mean, so you're talking about like the real-time dashboard or what?
Yeah, the real-time dashboard.
Yeah, I think can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is showing the votes on the left and then the project ranking on the right, and then there's lines from the votes to the project, so that if you're a voter, you can see how your vote helps allocate money in the round. So I just think it's interesting to show off all of the complexity of the capital allocation scheme that's going on here, I think. All right, we got 2 more minutes if people have questions. There's a comment in the chat that says, let's do this with city budgets. Let's saying, Scott, if you have any leads of city managers who want to do stuff like that, please introduce them. Be great. But yeah, participatory budgeting, I think, is a trend in many parts of the world. And this is a way to do it with Web3 that feels very Web2. So we're excited about that.
I'll totally show this to the Boulder City manager. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it would be very interesting if we don't actually put them in a position to stop it from happening, because we could just let people allocate, the discretionary part of the city budget to the things that they want to see used, right? And that would just create a natural political contrast between the way that it's already getting allocated. And it's like we're just governing a shadow city budget of like, this is actually how we would want it expressed. And I think that would be very interesting politically, because then you have another accountability mechanism.
Totally. That's a great one. Also, it means city council people get like lasted less for like, you funded this thing I didn't want. It's like, actually, we're all funding it together. So deal with it. Cool.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting, I'll call it a sales technique, but it feels like a pejorative to call that a sales technique. It feels like an activism thing. But yeah, if anyone wants to try that in a local city, I'd be interested to see if it works. And especially if it works, the case study telling other people how to do it would be an interesting cosmolocal way of building this movement. Alrighty, well, we got 5 more minutes. Does anyone else have something they want to show off? Looks like Benjamin Life is the first to raise their hand. So go ahead, Benjamin.
GM everyone. God, I have been producing a lot of documents recently, but the one that I wanted to share because I vibe coded an interface for it. Vibe coding is even a strong word. I use Gemini to mock up something. But I'm really excited to potentially turn this into a build for bioregional flow funding. And the idea here is to have cascades where the landscapes that are part of the bioregional funding round, the matching that they receive from that pool becomes the matching for their local pool. And I think we could even do a multi-mechanism approach here where we do kind of a global quadratic funding strategy for the bioregional scale, and then encourage folks to host AlloIRL parties in place to make allocations at the landscape level. This is intended to create kind of cascades of democratic participation. I think one of the challenges with QF is even though you have civil resistance, and so you're able and tunability, so you can give some community members extra influence to nudge the results, but you don't really have a way of constraining who are the allocators in that round in quite the same way as you would with like a token gated registry or a email-based allow list. And so the idea would be having landscapes within a bioregion put together portfolios of impact projects. And I think the benefit of, Gitcoin grants and on-chain public goods funding has often also been a movement building strategy as well for me, because by engaging the community to coordinate bringing that portfolio of projects together, you're incentivizing people to start collaborating at the local level. And so it would be kind of a social process to get those local communities engaged in a way that can onboard their projects, create a portfolio, submit that portfolio to the larger round, and then use whatever funds they receive from that matching pool to distribute out to local projects. And so I took a go at just trying to visualize how this could work. There was a diagram here in a previous version that doesn't exist anymore. But you can basically see here, you can contribute to the meta round, or you can look at the pools that are in the round and then vote or allocate within that. This is assuming that everyone can allocate in each of the scales. But this would have kind of dynamically updating matching estimates based on the kind of cascade of funding from the larger round. And so you could see how much has been donated in each of these pools, and then how that affects how these sub pools are funded. So yeah, this is an experimental mechanism design hallucination that, based on our experience in Cascadia for the BioFi Summit, it seemed like there's actually significant availability and interest and organizing power there. They have like coherent landscape level teams and projects. And so I think they're at a level of complexity where this kind of scaling, the kind of fractal scaling flow funding, quadratic funding model could actually work. And they have been trying to figure out how do we create the rails for resource distribution at the bioregional scale, with the kind of credible neutrality that something like QF provides. And so I think there's values alignment, capacity and coordination alignment. This is something that I would love to do with regen coordination and sell public goods, and potentially get 4 or 5 other partners in. I think we would need a like at least low 6-figure matching pool to really make this make sense as far as the smaller pools having enough capital to distribute to projects. But I think we could totally do that. And I would love to experiment with this mechanism in GG24 with you guys.
Thanks, Benjamin. We have a minute left. If anyone has any questions for Benjamin, I see the emoji claps and hearts rolling in. Go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, I'm super interested in this. I'm glad you're sharing. I know we've got a call later where we can maybe go deeper, but yeah, curious if you actually envision building a new tool for this, or if you envision like existing tools, maybe like Karma Gap or things that could be leveraged there, and what kind of specific features would need to be built like new, because in some ways you could just kind of fund a community and then they could set up the round, or is there some like specific functionality that you think needs to be built to make this successful is kind of my question.
Yeah, I think it could be totally viable, hacked together with existing tools and infrastructure. And I also think things are composable enough that I think with a little bit of tinkering, we could have the rounds, actually wired together so that funds actually do flow from one treasury to another for each of the rounds. So yeah, could go either way depending on dev capacity between now and then.
Again, thank you for listening. We are featuring the people who are building the capital allocation layer of the next generation of the internet. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.